top 10 most powerful air defense systems in the world. For thousands of years, the sky was a safe place. Armies moved across land, crossed rivers, scaled mountains, but the airspace above their heads was a domain that no one could control or threaten. All of that changed in the 20th century when aircraft, missiles, and drones turned the sky into the most dangerous and most difficult to defend battlefield that has ever existed. Today, controlling airspace is not just a tactical advantage, it is the difference between surviving and being destroyed in a matter of minutes. To face that threat, the most powerful countries in the world have invested astronomical sums of money, time, and engineering talent in developing air defense systems capable of detecting, tracking, and destroying anything that flies, from an intercontinental ballistic missile traveling at several kilometers per second to a small drone that barely exceeds 100 kilometers per hour. The systems we're going to look at today are the result of that technological race. They are the invisible guardians of the sky, and some of them can literally destroy targets in outer space. Stay until the end, because the number one on this list is a system so advanced that defense experts are still debating whether any known threat can overcome it. Let us get into it, starting at number 10.
Number 10. Pantsir S-1, Russia's short-range guardian. We open this list with a system that represents a very specific philosophy of modern air combat: point defense, the protection of specific and limited targets against short and medium-range threats. The Pantsir S-1, known within NATO by the designation SA-22 Greyhound, is the most widely deployed short-range self-propelled air defense system operated by Russia and several of its allies, and it has proven in multiple real conflicts to be a capable and versatile platform that covers the gap between conventional anti-aircraft guns and long-range missile systems. The Pantsir S-1 mounts on an 8-wheeled all-terrain truck, a combined weapon system that integrates two 30mm automatic cannons with a rate of fire of 2,500 rounds per minute each, and 12 radar-guided missiles of the 57E6 model, with a range of 20 kilometers and a maximum altitude of 15 kilometers. This combination of gun and missile is the essence of its design. The missiles handle the more distant threats, and when the target penetrates the inner perimeter, the cannons take over, with a density of fire that is devastating for any aircraft or munition that attempts to get too close. The system can detect and track up to 20 targets simultaneously and engage 4 of them at the same time. Its dual-band tracking radar, operating simultaneously in centimeter and millimeter frequencies, gives it a resistance to electronic countermeasures superior to that of single-band radar systems. It can function in fully autonomous mode, detecting, classifying, and engaging threats without human intervention, or it can be integrated into broader air defense networks, where it receives data from other sensors and coordinates its responses with other systems. Its reaction time from detection to first shot is 4 to 6 seconds, making it suitable for engaging high-speed anti-ship missiles, reconnaissance and attack drones, and precision-guided munitions. The Pantsir S-1 has had a notable presence in several recent conflicts. In Syria, it was deployed to protect the Russian Khmeimim air base and other critical facilities, where it intercepted dozens of low-cost drones launched by opposition forces. In Libya, it was used by both sides of the conflict, and in the context of the war in Ukraine, versions of the Pantsir have been captured and analyzed by Ukrainian forces, revealing both its real capabilities and some of its limitations, particularly against saturation attacks that exceed its simultaneous processing capacity. Every conflict has been a lesson that Russia has incorporated into improved versions of the system. The most recent version, the Pantsir SM, introduces longer-range missiles and improved radar with greater resistance to electronic warfare and the ability to integrate with next-generation command and control systems.
Several countries have acquired or expressed interest in the Pantsir, including the United Arab Emirates, Algeria, Iraq, Serbia, and several others. It is not the most advanced system on this list, but its combination of mobility, versatility, and relatively low cost compared to long-range systems makes it one of the most widely deployed and operationally relevant in the world. It is the first tier of Russian sky defense, and its position on this list is fully justified.
Number 9. MIM-104 Patriot, the American veteran that keeps evolving. If there is one air defense system that the general public knows by name, it is the Patriot. Ever since Patriot batteries appeared on the news during the Gulf War of 1991, intercepting Iraqi Scud missiles over Israel and Saudi Arabia in real time and in front of television cameras around the world, the name Patriot became synonymous with missile shield. More than 3 decades later, the system has evolved radically from those early versions, and the latest Patriot variants are systems of a complexity and capability that make the original model look like an experimental prototype. The Patriot system, whose full name is Phased Array Tracking Radar to Intercept on Target, was developed by Raytheon throughout the 1970s and 80s as a long-range, high-altitude air defense system for the American Army. Its central component is the AN/MPQ-65 radar, a phased array radar system that can detect targets at more than 150 kilometers, track dozens of threats simultaneously, and direct interceptor missiles toward their targets with a precision that improves with each generation of the system. The entire battery deploys on towed vehicles and can be fully operational in less than 30 minutes. Modern Patriot versions, particularly the PAC-3 MSE configuration, missile segment enhancement, are systems of far greater capability than the original Gulf War versions. The PAC-3 MSE missile does not destroy its target by detonating a conventional warhead in the proximity of the threat, as the early Patriots did. Instead, it uses a direct impact guidance approach, known as hit-to-kill in American technical terminology, that physically strikes the attacking missile with its own mass at interception speeds of several kilometers per second. It is the equivalent of destroying a bullet by firing another bullet directly into it. The precision required for that kind of interception is extraordinary, and the PAC-3 MSE achieves it consistently. The Patriot has been exported to more than 16 countries, including Germany, the Netherlands, Japan, South Korea, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Taiwan, and several others. In the context of the war in Ukraine, several Patriot batteries have been transferred to Ukrainian forces by the United States and its European allies, where they have demonstrated a notable capability to intercept short-range ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and Russian combat aircraft at significant ranges. Operational results in Ukraine have been broadly positive, though they have also revealed the critical importance of interceptor missile availability, which are extremely costly and produced in limited quantities. The continuous evolution of the Patriot shows no signs of stopping. The PAC-3 CRI modernization program, cost reduction initiative, seeks to maintain the effectiveness of the system at a lower production and maintenance cost, while integration with other multi-layer defense systems, including THAAD and the Aegis naval interceptors, is creating a layered missile defense architecture that covers ranges and altitudes that no individual system can cover on its own. The Patriot is the veteran of this list, but it remains one of the most operationally relevant and combat-proven systems in the world.
Number 8. Barak 8, the maritime shield of Israel and India. Israel is, for geopolitical reasons that require no explanation, the country in the world that has invested most proportionally in air defense relative to its size. Decades of conflicts, missile threats, rocket attacks, and constant pressure on its airspace have turned Israel into the most advanced air defense laboratory on the planet. And one of the least known jewels of that laboratory is the Barak 8 system,
developed in collaboration with India in a joint program between Israel Aerospace Industries and the Indian Defense Research and Development Organization, which represents one of the most productive military technological partnerships of the past few decades. The Barak 8, also known as LR-SAM or MR-SAM, depending on the variant, is a medium and long-range air defense system designed specifically to operate from naval platforms, although land-based versions have been developed and deployed. Its interceptor missile can reach targets at 70 kilometers and at altitudes of up to 16 kilometers, covering a spectrum of threats that includes anti-ship missiles, combat aircraft, helicopters, drones, and cruise missiles. Its guidance system combines inertial guidance in the mid-flight phase with an active continuous wave radar seeker in the terminal phase, providing it with a direct hit precision similar to that of the American PAC-3. One of the most advanced characteristics of the Barak 8 is its ability to operate in environments of intense electronic warfare. The missile can continue guiding toward its target even when the system's illumination radar is being actively jammed by enemy electronic countermeasures, thanks to its active radio frequency seeker that operates autonomously in the final phase of flight. Additionally, the system can launch multiple missiles in rapid succession against different targets simultaneously, making it especially effective against saturation attacks, designed to overwhelm defenses through sheer volume of simultaneous threats. The result is a system that competes in capability with the best of the Western world at a lower development and acquisition cost, and that is laying the groundwork for India to eventually develop long-range air defense systems in a fully autonomous manner.
Number 7. HQ-9. China's bet on air sovereignty. China has carried out over the past 3 decades one of the most ambitious and rapid military modernization programs in history. And within that program, air defense has occupied a central place because Chinese military planners identified long ago that American air superiority and its ability to project power through bombers and long-range missiles was the primary strategic threat they needed to answer. The HQ-9, whose full name is Hongqi 9 or Red Flag 9, is the Chinese answer to that threat. And although its origins are complex and controversial, its evolution has turned it into one of the most capable air defense systems currently in service. The HQ-9 is a long-range air defense system with capability against short-range ballistic missiles. Its interceptor missiles have a range of up to 125 kilometers in the most modern versions and can reach targets at altitudes of up to 30 kilometers, giving it the ability to intercept some ballistic missiles during their descent phase. The system integrates with the HT-233 active phased array search radar, capable of tracking 100 targets simultaneously and guiding 6 missiles against 6 different targets at the same time, and with the HT-233 guidance radar that provides the precise illumination needed for the terminal phase of interception. The origins of the HQ-9 are one of the most controversial debates in the world of international armaments. Numerous Western analysts argue that the system incorporates technology obtained through industrial espionage from the Russian S-300 system and possibly from the American Patriot, pointing to similarities in system architecture and in some specific components that are difficult to explain as coincidences of independent design. China rejects these accusations and maintains that the HQ-9 is a completely original national development. What is indisputable is that the system's performance has improved substantially with each generation, and that current versions, the HQ-9B and the export-oriented HQ-9BE, are genuinely capable systems on their own merits, regardless of their possible sources of inspiration.
China has deployed the HQ-9 in large numbers along its most sensitive borders and on the artificial islands it has built in the South China Sea, where its batteries cover the region's most heavily transited air corridors and project a defensive presence that significantly complicates the operational planning of any air force considering operations in that zone. Turkey seriously considered acquiring the HQ-9 in 2013, a decision that caused a severe crisis within NATO, given that the Chinese system was not compatible with the alliance's command and control protocols, and which ultimately did not materialize, partly due to that Allied pressure. Export versions of the HQ-9, marketed as FD-2000, have generated interest in several countries across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East that are seeking long-range air defense capabilities without the political conditions that often accompany the acquisition of American or European systems. The HQ-9 represents the maturity of the Chinese defense sector. It no longer merely copies or adapts foreign technology, but develops its own systems that can compete in the export market against the best Western and Russian offerings. It is the clearest demonstration of how far Chinese military technological capability has advanced in this domain.
Number 6. Iron Dome, the revolution of active shielding. Throughout the long history of air defense systems, most were designed to face sophisticated and high-cost threats. Advanced combat aircraft, ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads, precision-guided cruise missiles. But the reality of many modern conflicts is different. The most frequent threat is not a precision missile costing millions of dollars, but an unguided rocket built from simple materials costing a few $100s. Against that kind of threat, conventional systems are either too expensive or too slow. The Iron Dome was designed specifically to solve that problem, and in doing so, it created an entirely new concept in air defense. The Iron Dome, developed by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems and Israel Aerospace Industries for the Israel Defense Forces, entered operational service in 2011 and has since proven to be the most combat-tested short-range air defense system in history.
Number 5. THAAD, the interceptor that reaches space. There is a fundamental difference between intercepting a combat aircraft or a cruise missile flying within the atmosphere and destroying a ballistic missile that has exited the atmosphere and is falling from outer space at speeds of several kilometers per second. The physics are completely different. The closing speeds are enormously greater. The time windows for interception are much shorter, and the consequences of a failure are incomparably more severe. THAAD, Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, is the American system designed to face exactly that scenario, and its capabilities place it in a completely different category from conventional air defense systems. THAAD was developed by Lockheed Martin for the U.S. Army following the lessons learned during the Gulf War, when the inconsistent performance of the original Patriot against Iraqi Scud missiles revealed that the United States needed a system specifically optimized for ballistic missile interception. The system entered service in 2008 after more than 2 decades of development, testing, and refinement. Each THAAD battery consists of the AN/TPY-2 active phased array radar, considered one of the most powerful and capable radars in the world in its category. Several launchers with 8 interceptor missiles each, and a fire operations center that manages the entire system and can connect with other multi-layer defense systems. The THAAD interceptor missile uses, like the PAC-3, hit-to-kill technology with no explosive warhead. The interceptor destroys its target simply by colliding with it at its own mass at interception speeds that can exceed 2,500 meters per second. At those speeds,
The kinetic energy of the impact is equivalent to that of a conventional warhead, and the destruction of the target is complete. The technical difficulty of achieving that direct impact against a ballistic missile traveling at several times the speed of sound, calculating its exact trajectory with sufficient anticipation for the interceptor to arrive at the interception point at the precise moment, is one of the most complex engineering problems that exists. THAAD has had an extraordinarily successful test record, with more than 16 consecutive successful interceptions under test conditions that simulate real threat scenarios. In that role, it has no rival among operationally deployed systems today. Number 4. S-400 Triumph, the seller of diplomatic problems. If there is one weapons system that in recent years has caused more diplomatic crises, more friction in international alliances, and more debates in defense ministries around the world, it is the S-400 Triumph, known within NATO as the SA-21 Growler. The Russian long-range air defense system has become a kind of geopolitical litmus test. Countries that acquire it must choose between the technical capabilities the S-400 offers and the political consequences that its acquisition brings in their relations with the United States and NATO. And several countries have decided that the capabilities are worth the political cost. That alone says something very eloquent about what the S-400 can do. The S-400 was developed by Almaz Antey as the successor to the legendary S-300, which for decades was considered the most capable air defense system in the world outside the United States. The S-400 surpasses the S-300 in virtually every parameter. Its maximum range of 400 kilometers with the 40 N-6E missile makes it the longest-range surface-to-air missile system in operational service in the world, capable of threatening even airborne refueling aircraft and early warning aircraft that modern weapons systems depend on for their effectiveness. Its maximum interception altitude exceeds 30 kilometers, giving it capability against short and medium-range ballistic missiles. The system can use 4 different types of interceptor missiles, from the 9M96E2 medium-range missile with a 120-kilometer range optimized for high maneuverability against highly agile targets, to the already mentioned 40N6E with 400 kilometers of range for high-value targets at long distances. This munition's versatility allows it to tailor its response to the specific type of threat it faces, using the most appropriate missile for each scenario and conserving the most costly missiles for the targets that require them. It can track up to 300 targets simultaneously and engage 36 of them at the same time with 72 missiles in flight. India was one of the first non-Russian countries to acquire the S-400, signing a $5.4 billion contract in 2018, despite American warnings about possible sanctions under CATSA law. Turkey, a NATO member, acquired the system in 2019 and was expelled from the F-35 fighter program as a direct consequence of that decision, in one of the most tense episodes in the recent history of the Atlantic Alliance. China was the first export customer for the system, acquiring 6 batteries in 2014. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and several other countries have expressed interest or initiated negotiations that in some cases have been blocked by American pressure. The S-400 is the system that most faithfully reflects the threat that Russia poses to Western air dominance, not because it is invincible, no system is, but because it combines extraordinary range, multi-layer capabilities, resistance to electronic warfare, and an export cost that puts it within reach of countries that could not afford equivalent American systems. Its mere presence in a country's inventory changes the operational calculations of any air force considering operations in that airspace.
It is the guardian of the Russian sky, and also the seller of the most costly diplomatic problems of the past decade.
Number 3. Aegis Combat System, the floating shield of the United States. Most of the air defense systems on this list are fixed on land or mobile on ground vehicles. But there is one platform that has spent decades projecting air defense and missile defense capability across every ocean in the world, that can be at any point on the planet within days, that can integrate with other defense systems to create protection architectures of unprecedented complexity and effectiveness, and that remains, by many criteria, the most sophisticated combat system ever built and deployed at sea. That system is the Aegis Combat System, and the warships that carry it are the floating guardians of the American-led international order. The Aegis system was developed by RCA and later by Lockheed Martin for the United States Navy from the 1970s onward, as a response to the threat of Soviet anti-ship missiles that were becoming increasingly sophisticated and numerous. Its central component is the AN/SPY-1 radar, a passive phased array radar system that can detect and track more than 100 targets simultaneously within a radius of hundreds of kilometers in all directions at once, without needing to physically rotate the antenna as conventional radars do. This simultaneous omnidirectional coverage capability was revolutionary at the time and remains the foundation of its operational superiority. Aegis-equipped ships, which include the Ticonderoga-class cruisers and Arleigh Burke-class destroyers of the American Navy, as well as Japan's Kongo and Atago-class destroyers, South Korea's Sejong the Great-class destroyers, and several ships from other Allied navies, can launch SM-2, SM-3, and SM-6 interceptor missiles against threats at different ranges and altitudes. The SM-3 missile is especially significant. It is designed to intercept medium-range ballistic missiles in their exo-atmospheric flight phase at altitudes of up to 500 kilometers above the Earth's surface. It is literally an interceptor designed to operate in space. The Aegis ballistic missile defense capability has been tested in dozens of trials with consistently successful results, including the interception of ballistic missiles in their mid-course flight phase at altitudes of several hundred kilometers. It is the floating shield of the modern era, and its sophistication and global reach place it rightfully on the podium of this list. Number 2. S-500 Prometee, the guardian of near space. If the S-400 is the most powerful air defense system widely deployed in the world today, the S-500 Prometee represents what comes next, a qualitative leap so significant that Western analysts have spent years trying to evaluate its real capabilities based on official Russian statements that mix verifiable technical achievements with claims that are difficult to independently confirm. What does seem clear, based on what Russia has published and on the analyses of Western intelligence services, is that the S-500 is the first operational system specifically designed to defend against intercontinental ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, and targets in near space. The actual range and demonstrated effectiveness of the S-500 remain to a large extent an unknown quantity for Western analysts, given that Russia has kept the results of the system's operational testing under strict secrecy. What is clear is that its development and deployment have triggered a significant acceleration in American next-generation missile defense programs, including the next-generation interceptor being developed to replace the ground-based mid-course defense interceptors currently deployed in Alaska and California. In the world of missile defense, the existence of the S-500 has changed the strategic calculations of every relevant actor. And that, regardless of what its exact capabilities turn out to be, makes it fully deserving of the number 2 spot on this list.
Number 1.
Israel's multi-layer defense system, the most complete architecture in the world. And we arrive at the number one spot on our list. And this number one is different from all the others because it is not a single system with a name and a model number. It is an architecture, an integration of multiple systems working together in complementary layers to create the most complete, most combat-proven, and most sophisticated air and missile defense that exists on the planet. It is Israel's multi-layer defense system, which combines the Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow 2, and Arrow 3 into an integrated network capable of facing any known aerial threat, from unguided rockets built in a garage to intercontinental ballistic missiles falling from outer space. The logic of the Israeli multi-layer architecture is elegant in its simplicity and devastating in its effectiveness. Each layer is optimized for a specific range of threats. The Iron Dome handles short-range threats from 1 to 70 kilometers, including artillery rockets, mortars, short-range anti-ship missiles, and attack drones. David Sling, developed jointly by Rafael and Raytheon, covers the medium range from 40 to 300 kilometers, specifically designed to intercept advanced cruise missiles, highly maneuverable short-range ballistic missiles, and combat aircraft at great distances. The Arrow 2 system covers the range of medium-range ballistic missiles in the upper atmosphere, and the Arrow 3 takes the defense into outer space, intercepting intercontinental ballistic missiles outside the atmosphere in their mid-course flight phase before they re-enter the atmosphere on their final descent. What makes the Israeli system truly unique and truly the number one on this list is not just the sum of the capabilities of its individual components, but the integration between them. All systems share information in real time through a centralized command and control network that evaluates each detected threat, determines which layer or combination of layers is most appropriate to intercept it, and coordinates the launch of interceptors from multiple systems if the threat requires it. If a missile manages to get past the first layer of defense, the next layer automatically activates. If the interception probability of one system is insufficient for a particular threat, two systems can attack the same target simultaneously to maximize the probability of destruction. It is, without any possible debate, the most complete, most tested, and most effective air defense in the world. And that is why it holds with complete justification the number one position on this list.
And that brings us to the end of our countdown of the 10 most powerful air defense systems in the world. From the Pantsir S-1, the short-range Guardian that patrols Russian bases and conflict zones, to the Israeli multi-layer system, the most complete and most tested defense architecture that humanity has ever built. What these systems represent goes beyond technology and numbers. They represent decades of lessons learned in real conflicts, of tragedies that generated innovations, of threats that seemed insurmountable until someone found a way to overcome them. The sky is no longer a safe place for any aggressor, and these systems are the reason for that. They are the invisible guardians that the world rarely sees but constantly depends on. If you enjoyed this video, let us know in the comments which system you think is the most impressive on the list and why. And if you want to keep exploring the world of modern weaponry, cutting-edge military technology, and the systems that define the balance of power in the 21st century, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. See you in the next one.